happy 4th of July, y'all, especially to the Americans, and it's our Independence Day, and to all my British friends, hello, and hope you are all doing well. I'm sitting out here, hairy legs, and my boo-boo, watching it rain. It's 4th of July. I came out this morning and took a few photos of my plants and flowers, rehung my little charm wind chime thing my friend Jennifer made me, gosh, 6 years now? Where's that? Kind of hard to see. But I use the command strip thing under the edge of that, so, and the hook is the kind that swivels, so it will, it will, when it folds up, it'll just hang long ways and it won't get wrapped up in anything. It's old and it's faded and it's got some rust, but I still love it. So, yeah. I might end up twisting its wire so it hangs more like this, but it doesn't really matter. I may end up bringing that little stained glass dragonfly in and doing the same thing on the other side. This side's better because I won't really run into it. When I go around the camper to go do stuff, if the awning's out like it is now, I just walk right into this side. So I kind of had to move my chair in because it was blowing a little bit. And I was getting a little bit wet through the mesh, but anyway, I am wearing my 4th of July shirt. I don't know how well that picture will take, but so I'm kind of like actually sitting on my stoop, my version of a stoop, and like in this one little area where it's not, rain can't really get me. You can see where it's kind of dry. It's wet to the camper to about there. You can't see it running. And then where I'm sitting kind of right here, it's dry to just past the door. So the asparagus fern gets plenty of water, plus I give it water. But it was short, so I had it's a citronella candle to help keep away flies and bugs. Right now the rain is doing that perfectly well. And it's only like 10:30 in the morning. And but I had a smaller one that I got at the dollar store. And so this time once it was dead, I just turned its can upside down. It has a little bit of the citronella wax in it, but it had burned down. So I don't see any bugs wanting to climb up there, but I'm using it as a little perch for that. Because right now, buying plant stands and things to perch stuff on is not in my budget. Nothing's in my budget right now. So, yeah, it's been a rough week. I did get a promotion and a raise. My boss was gone for 2 weeks, and I kind of had to run the show, and I had to run the show and train this new employee and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I've earned it, but it really, really wore me out. I'm just really run down. Today is my family does a 4th of July cookout at my uncle's, and my cousins do all the meat, and people bring sides, and it would be a good time to get to see a lot, catch up with a bunch of family I haven't seen since March, but I can't drive there because of my car tag. My car's not legal. In retrospect, a big part of it's my fault, but a lot of it is some things weren't made clear to me. So I've financed 4 cars in my lifetime in 4 different states. Never once have I had to pay the excise tax separate. It's rolled into the financing. So when I bought this car, I looked at all my paperwork and I saw the different fees. And, considering what the fees were, I'm like, okay, taxes probably got to be figured in there. So I went to go get my tag, and they're like, oh no, you got to pay the tax separately. I'm like, what the hell? I just financed this car. I've never had to pay tax separately. Oh, well, in Oklahoma you do. But if they rolled it into your financing, then they should give you a check to come and pay your taxes. I'm like, okay. So I went to the dealer and said, hey, what the hell? And they're like, oh, well, they don't do that in Oklahoma. They'll do it in Arkansas and Texas. But I'm like, they said, maybe, when you're buying something brand new at a dealer. I'm like, she told me that it's possible. I said, so why the heck did you guys not make that clear to me? You saw I had an out-of-state driver's license. I hadn't bought a car in Oklahoma before. And I wish you guys would have specifically said all states tell you that you're in the that you're responsible for tax, tag, and title. That is told to you in every state. And every state I've ever bought a car, there's only a handful of them that don't do that. It's just, yeah, you're responsible for it, so either you pay the taxes or they roll it into part of your financing. So I just assumed, and I'm like, what? I said, if I had an extra $800, I wouldn't have been financing a freaking car, I would have added it to my down payment. I mean, so, yeah. And when she looked up my paperwork, she's like, well, yeah, they have all these fees, but they don't say what they are. I said, well, I assumed one of them was the taxes. She's like, well, they don't have anything here marked taxes. I'm like, so I'm probably going to have to go out and try to get a small, probably a higher interest, small cash loan for like $600-700, because every day that your tax is late, it's $3 a day. And my tag was due on the 3rd of June. I went towards the end of the month, but even though it's within the same month, they still hit you with all those fees. So, yeah, I'm going to have to pay close to $1,000. So right now, I'm flying under the radar. My car's low. I have the brand new tag. Dealer's like, well, they're probably, unless you were in an issue where there's a cop right on your butt, they're not pulling over people and checking tags at the red tags. I'm like, whatever. Because I can't afford to park my car. I live too far away. I have no other way to get to work. And so I can take back roads to work and back roads home, and knock on wood, I'm knocking on my head, I will not have any issue, because it could get impounded. And I'm like, so it looks like Tuesday I'm going to have a day off, or a short day. We don't have any clients that day, and so I told my boss, I'm on call, so if we get clients, I have to work. I said, but I don't like empty days. I can afford to have days off. If I could afford a day off, I would just take one off when I'm sick, and I don't. So, but I could use that day to go and see if I can't come up with the money. Otherwise, I'm going to be driving risky for at least a month. And, my tag says June. It's July, so I don't know. Anyway, that's kind of made me, that's really bummed me out. It's like, every time I think I'm getting ahead, I'm catching back up and getting all this dialed in, God takes the
Ignore
opportunity
this
to
silly
kick me in the
rant.
teeth.
I'm just ranting. I'm just having a bad day. Ignore me, ignore me, ignore me, ignore me. I hope I'm talking over everything. And anyway, look at the flowers. Look at the flowers. Aren't they pretty? Kate has lost her mind. I'm just trying this voiceover. Let's see if it works. All right, guys, back to me being normal.
He's not a merciful God. And trust me, I've pissed him off in some life. But anyway, asparagus fern, my zinnia. I'm very proud of them. I'm going to use them as a thumbnail. Because everyone said, oh, you can't grow them in a pot well. You probably won't do well. You don't know how old those seeds are. Well, they're beautiful. So I put all the mandevilla out there in one big pot. I don't think I showed that in a video. But there's the 2 red and the pink. And then on the other side is the lantana. They're slowly getting taller. And then I got a picture earlier of my purslane in the rain. But the great thing is, green beans, they look like they might throw off some blooms, so the edges have gotten a little burnt. Peppers, I've got peppers on them, but I don't know. I probably need to feed them again, because I think I fed them a little light last week. But the wildflower patch is bouncing back awesome. So I'm going to zoom in a bit. Those two were a couple that I showed. Most of all these were the ones that were cut down to like just stalks about a few inches high. And these bigger ones were the ones that were too little that he missed. But they've spread. So far, it looks like I've got about 20, a little over 20, just the 4 o'clock. So these are these tallest, bigger green ones. That is going to be a giant marigold. It's about 10 inches already. And it hasn't even started to put on the bloom. In Delaware, that thing did not bloom till it was almost 4 feet tall. But there's more down there of different marigolds. You can see them. You can kind of tell by their leaves here. There's more zinnia down there. What all's in this little mix back here where you see those little tufts? It's hard to see them now. It's got any kind of pollinator. There's poppies in there. There's still some of that little briar stuff. I gotta cut more out. That crap goes so fast. That's this stuff. It's all thorny. So I cut it down, and then I put a little rubbing alcohol or with a syringe or a few drops of bleach right on the plant where I cut it, and it kills it out without polluting anything. People may argue, but I don't give a shit. I don't want a bunch of those vines choking out my wildflowers. So all this little green here around this rock, those are all wildflowers. And I don't know what they are. Once the rain's gone, maybe tomorrow, or the soil's out, I will just pick a few out to thin it. I try not to thin until they get bigger and I know what they are, but with a lot of wildflowers, you cannot tell. Now this tall green fluffy thing here, those are cosmos. And I've got about 8 of those spread out around there. And I think because of the butchering by the lawn boy and the fact that I staggered the planting, I think I'm going to have, once they all start blooming, probably late in the summer, I'm going to have a really pretty little show of it. And maybe it'll be almost as pretty as my flag. So anyhow, yeah, they've mowed again. I've been also keeping this patch of sod watered. That same sod he put over here to help with the rainflow, and you can see how well it's doing over there. He's also going to eventually put a little fire pit and some benches in that square, but last night I heard some fireworks, some big booming ones that I could feel shaking the camper. And so we've got a good spots out here, and with it being damp, I hope somebody shoots off some pretty ones, because if it's not raining, I'll turn on my citronella candle and to help keep away flies, and I'll put on my I'll turn on my little thermocell to keep the mosquitoes off me, and I will sit out here and watch them. Maybe it'll be cooler. So anyhow, I probably shouldn't leave my bear box sitting out there as a plant stand, but it's not going to hurt it. I would think it could survive some rain in the Oklahoma summer if it can survive a bear attack, you know what I mean? So anyway, I'm just sitting out here enjoying it being cool. It's been so hot you couldn't, just walking outside, you know, it was just so darn hot. The humidity's been really high too, and I know that's been getting a lot of people here. And the humidity does get to me, but it's not to a point yet that I'm like, oh my God, it's so humid. And I think that's just because I've spent the last 30 years in a very, very humid environment from North Carolina to Delaware. So I'm kind of acclimated to it. And we haven't had any of the kind of heat and humidity that's been going on there. Most people like to block out their tag, like, what? Why? You know, think someone's going to come stalk you? Nobody wants my little blue Hyundai. Not even me. I mean, I don't hate my car. I like my car. It's fine. It's not my first choice. But I wanted small. I wanted phenomenal gas mileage. I wanted something that was in really good shape. New enough I wouldn't have to worry about it. Like low miles, a good commuter car. And it is. It's, you know, it's a good little commuter car. It drives well. It's cute. Except for the, you know, the underpinning where they just kind of clip it on underneath the front so that stuff doesn't bounce up under your car. Well, mine is missing, so I think it fell off. A piece of it had tore off and was hitting my tire, and it was making, besides the noise, it was affected my tire sensor. My tire kept wanting to say that it was low. It wasn't. So I cut that piece out, and apparently with the rain and the travel, it went ahead and ripped off. So I'm just being very careful if I'm behind people in dualies or going over rocks or rough terrain. And once, you know, if I can catch a break, I will I will see if I can't replace that. It's probably more expensive than it's worth to replace, but who knows. Just because, but I don't plan on traveling anywhere I have to really worry about stuff flying up under the car. Except for I have noticed here on the interstate, people lose pieces of their car and there's shit on the road and nobody comes and moves it, you know. Shit falls off their car and they just keep going. Or they leave it out in the middle of the fast lane. And then when you see it and you want to get around it, people don't want to, they don't want to let you get away around it. So, I don't know. I'm really fed up. I love Oklahoma, but this week I'm fed up. I'm fed up with the overly high taxes, their stupid logic, and the drivers. Oh my God, I'm so over it. But anyway, I've also been kind of had a tummy bug this week, and I had to just work with it. And I worked with 2 days in a row. I had migraines I had to work through, and I just had to take tummy breaks and eat, and hopefully, keep my food, which I didn't really eat much this week. I'm glad, otherwise I probably would have been throwing it up everywhere. But it's just run me down to the point that I couldn't go do the family thing today. Enjoy the large groups. You can't really visit with anybody or individuals, and have a good visit in that big of a group. I have cousins who have grandchildren, and there's going to be a bunch of little kids running around, and I do not like to be around children. I do not find them appealing. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't want to hear them. I don't want to see them, smell them, talk to them, whatever. Even if it's and I just, it's a long drive, so I couldn't risk it in my car. I would have gone with my sister, but she just told me this morning that she wasn't going, but I had already decided that I just needed this day to rest. Because, I have the weekends off, but I typically spend one day of that weekend working around here, catching up on stuff, doing laundry, cleaning, that kind of stuff, and, cooking, and so I really only have one day of the week that I can actually just rest on my lazy Sunday, and sometimes I still gotta leave the house and do crap on that day. So I really wanted today, I could do laundry today. I need to, but I'm not. I could probably get away with running into the store if I needed to, but I don't. I have no need to leave the house and nothing I have to do. I did strip my bed this morning because, I was like, oh, it's Saturday. I need to make sure the bed's stripped. I'm like, oh, crap, it's Friday. So I might just throw a blanket over the bed and sleep on top of the blanket with a sheet tonight because I do not feel like making it. So I probably won't do laundry today, and I won't make my bed today. And I really want my green beans to survive. I was feeling bad because they have some leaves that were getting kind of brown around the edges, and I was afraid that when I was feeding them, which I put their liquid feed, which is diluted, of course, I put it in the drip tray, so it's not on their leaves. And I thought, well, maybe I accidentally dripped some on them, or maybe it was the sun. That's why I had mentioned in my last video that I brought them over here where they do get some dappled shade. Once it gets past noon, then they're kind of in a dappled shade for the rest of the day. I thought maybe that they just weren't gonna, they had, wasn't the pollinators, or they didn't germinate well, or they didn't like the pot or the soil. Because, maybe I need to add some more nitrogen. I don't know. Beans tend to put nitrogen in the soil, but I just kind of figured by now I'd be seeing some blooms. But I looked down close and can see some really start of some little bloom buds. So we'll see. I've got little poblano peppers over there. And you can't really see, but a couple of them are starting to make some more blooms, so that's good. And I know there's plenty of pollinators around here, so. Anyhow, this is a pre-Saturday weekend video. It's Friday, and I'm just hanging out here. The rain has stopped. You can barely hear the little pitter-patter now. And I'm a little dampish, but it's refreshing. It's just nice to sit out here. It's quiet. There really aren't any bunch of kids around here, thank goodness, because if there was several families of children, I would have to move, or hope to God that they were only here for the summer. I think there's one camper over here, they have 3 young children, but 2 of them are too young to even be outside. It's like, why have so many kids together in a row? I'm not good. I can't, I'm stopped. I shouldn't be judging people. Anyway. And then there's another camper over there, I think they have kids, but kids these days, they don't come outside and play. They sit on tablets and do shit, so stay in the house. That's just fine with me. I see them out every now and then, but they're really not loud. They're not running around here. There's not like a park area. It's all adults here, and I would love it if he could eventually make it where it's no children allowed, just adults and full-time people. I think people have to be here at least 3 or 4 years. He doesn't make you sign a contract, not 3 or 4 years, 3 or 4 months at the minimum. He doesn't make you sign a contract. At first, it was like you sign a 4-month contract, and then after 3 or 4 months, you just pay you're here monthly. You can leave at your time. But he didn't do that, so I know he probably just wanted to fill it up and start recouping some of the money because his property is taking him some time and money. But I'm hoping that eventually, that maybe some of those people will just pull out and move on after the summer. Like maybe this is just a transitional place. Because really, I don't want to live anywhere where there's a bunch of kids or crazy people. I'm getting old and cranky. I'm a curmudgeon. I like the peace. I like the quiet. You know, I like to be able to wave at my neighbors and have a chat. You know, enjoy the sunshine, the fresh air without screaming and yelling going on. And, you know, whatever. You know, there's those of us who just are not kid people. But anyway, I'm going to close this out on my beautiful little zinnia. She got a little too much rain. Her head's spinning over. All right, y'all. To you other Americans, happy birthday. And to the rest of you guys, I love you and have a great Friday. Bye.